Joining me now from Skype from Cairo in Egypt is international journalist Diana Eldaba. Diana, it's good to have you join me this morning now. Glad to have you join me. Now, the world is coping with a pandemic that they have not seen in recent times. Talk to us about Egypt. How are people coping with the coronavirus pandemic?
Good morning, Mike. First, I would like to tell you that in Egypt, in high school, we used to study a chapter about Nigeria in geography. And the first line was that I used to memorize was Nigeria is a beautiful country. So good morning, beautiful country from Egypt. We as Egyptians, we hold our breath every night before we listen to the numbers that are being announced by our Minister of Health. And actually, yesterday, the announced number of death was the highest amongst all, but it was still relatively low compared to the universal numbers. Yesterday, she announced 9 deaths of COVID-19 cases. This is 9.5% of the total number of deaths. That is 94 deaths announced since 9th of March, since the first case was announced in Egypt. And the number of confirmed new cases was 128 new cases. Actually, this is not the highest. The highest was the day before, which was 149 cases. This was 10.2% of the total confirmed cases, which is 1,450 cases. Among all the cases, only one doctor passed away, died. He was a professor and head of medical test sector at his university. And in Egypt, like the Egyptians on social media, they called the doctors and the people who work in the medical care, they called them the White Army. And actually, the army in Egypt has a very honorary stage. Like Egyptians, they love their army. So when they want to honor a group of people, they call them army. So we call them the White Army because they are the people who are on the front lines, risking their own lives for our lives. As I said before,
Yes, Diana, it's good to really know about the White Army, the way it's called. It's really beautiful to call them that way because they've put their lives on the front line. Now, many countries are on lockdown, trying to ensure that they contain the spread of the COVID-19. Talk to us about measures like that in Egypt. Is there a lockdown? Are there restriction of movements of people in Egypt? Talk to us.
Yes, actually, there was a curfew for 2 weeks. And yesterday, the prime minister announced the extension of the curfew for 2 more weeks. But there was, there was a debate in Egypt whether to have a full lockdown. And this is like the debate taking place everywhere in the world, whether to have a full lockdown or to keep it just a curfew. It was from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. And the prime minister announced an extension for 2 weeks. But he lessened the number of hours, because this means that our government is taking the direction of that, you know what, like, yes, we need to save people's lives, but our precautions need to go hand in hand with continuing our work and continuing the economic cycle. And I think that this is the international trend as well. So yes, we have a curfew. And the fine of breaking this curfew is relatively high. It's 4,000 Egyptian pounds. And to make this like to give you the sense of this is like double the minimum monthly wage. So it's quite high. And the government is very firm and very strict on keeping the curfew all over Egypt, all over the nation. And Egyptians are responsive. They responded to the curfew and to all the measures that the government is taking, and as well there are other measures, like economic measures that the government undertook. The president announced a stimulus package of 100 billion pounds. Right. This is almost $6.3 billion and 2.4 trillion naira, given the Nigerian currency. And this is to support the tourism health sector, stock market, real estate funding, and all different sectors to keep the economy upstill to uphold the economy as much as it can.
All right, Diana, I'm going to interrupt you here now due to time. This discussion is going to continue for us to have a breakdown of all of that and how that money will be utilized. Thank you very much, Diana Daba, for joining us from Cairo. Thank you so much. Thank you. Right.